Over 100,000 Kikuyu take the Mau Mau oath. Sir Michael Blundell, the leader of Kenya's white settlers.
October the 20th, 1952. The governor asked to see me in his room at Government House. There he told me that a declaration of emergency had been made and that a battalion of the army would be arriving in Kenya by air. He outlined the arrangements for the arrest and detention of 187 of the ringleaders of Mau Mau, including Kenyatta.
In December, Kenyatta is put on trial. By now, Mau Mau has begun to attack and kill white settlers. After 4 months in court, the presiding judge, Ransley Thacker, himself a white settler, delivers a damning 7-hour judgment.
You have plunged many Africans back to a state which shows little humanity. Your Mau Mau society has slaughtered without mercy defenseless men, women, and children. You have much to answer for, and for that you will be punished.
Kenyatta is sentenced to 7 years hard labor. Thacker flies to Britain immediately after the trial, having been given £20,000 by the government to facilitate his permanent relocation in England. March 1953. The worst atrocity of the Mau Mau uprising takes place at Lari, a protected settlement of Kikuyu loyal to the British, north of Nairobi. 97 people are burned or hacked to death. The government report of the massacre.
The sleeping Kikuyu people awoke to find flames roaring above them as the Mau Mau fired the tinder-dry thatched roofs. Men, women and children, forcing their way out of the windows, were caught and butchered. Mangled corpses all mingled with the smoking ashes of the burnt homesteads.
White farmers and their families continue to be attacked under the cover of darkness on their isolated farms. The wife of a farmer, Marjorie Perham.
The country has been darkened by a murderous hate. It is hard to believe that as the sun goes down, gangs in the forest are preparing to set out not only to murder Europeans, but to burn alive and hack to death their own neighbors and their wives and children.
The Europeans form vigilante groups. Their avowed policy: shoot on sight. Kikuyus are required to live in protected villages, watched over by the loyal Kikuyu Guard, leaving the Mau Mau isolated in the forests. The British Army is deployed into the forests. The Royal Air Force into the skies above them. The Commander-in-Chief, British forces in the Kenya colony, General Sir George Erskine.
16th of October, 1953. We have reached a turning point which is decisive for good or evil. There have been no spectacular battles, but you cannot expect that. in the thick jungle. The military operations have met with success.
Martial law is strictly enforced. At the height of the rebellion, over 80,000 Kikuyu are held in detention camps. A detainee, Josiah Karaoke.
Solitary confinement was one of the worst experiences of my life. A missionary came to visit me and seemed almost to be crying when he saw me. Later, we were hammered by the riot squad, and 35 detainees were crippled, some permanently. I felt very bitter against Malo, one of the camp officers, nicknamed Mapiga the Hitter. Dipping into my precious funds, I bribed a warder to get me writing materials. I sent letters to Barbara Castle, MP.
Barbara Castle, the opposition Labour MP for Blackburn, part of a vocal group in Britain, increasingly concerned about conduct in the colonies.
I receive letters every day from detainees on these subjects. I have a pile of letters here so deep that I don't know where to store them. In the heart of the British Empire, there is a police state where the rule of law has broken down, where the murders and torture of Africans by Europeans goes unpunished, and where authorities, pledged to enforce justice, regularly connive at its violation.
Criticism of British action has little impact in Kenya. Informers within the Kikuyu community are used to identify Mau Mau sympathizers. Loyal witch doctors are recruited to administer cleansing rituals, overseen by British clergymen.
Do you confess that you have taken the Mau Mau oath? Do you seek forgiveness through the blood of Christ, our Savior? Do you affirm that by the help and grace of God, you will confess the faith of Christ and fight against the world, the flesh, and the devil?
Only when cleansed are the Kikuyu released from detention. In May 1955, Geoffrey Fisher, Archbishop of Canterbury, visits Kenya to commemorate the dead of the loyal Kikuyu Guard.
We started at 8:15 to go to Fort Hall. Lots of barbed wire and tribal guards. Laid the foundation stone of the Martyrs Memorial Church. 5,000 Kikuyu were there. I said, I address you as my friends. Whether in your heart you are my friends or not, only God can tell. After, I walked round the square. When I greeted the crowds, they waved eagerly. I estimated 10% loyal, 20% more inclined to be than not, 50% more inclined to Mau Mau than not, 10 to 20% Mau Mau at heart. What a day.
Over 2,000 people loyal to British rule in Kenya died during the Mau Mau rebellion, including 95 Europeans. Mau Mau deaths total more than 11,000. During mass trials, 1,000 detainees are executed.